Hello and welcome to the shop. While I was at the Mid-Ohio Valley Pen Turners gathering, I had the opportunity to meet Luis Torres. And Luis was kind enough to present me with a blank that he cast in his shop. It's absolutely gorgeous. And today, I'm going to turn that blank into this pen. I really hope you enjoy. This blank was cast by Luis Torres, and Luis gave it to me at the Midwest Ohio Valley Pen Turners gathering. It's cast on a 27/64" tube. I do believe the material is Alumilite, and I'm thinking he told me that this was pine cone that he put in the mold. Well, I had a little bit of an issue right here where a piece of the pine cone chipped out. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do just yet. I think I am going to try to fill it. I just need to come up with some darker wood to be able to put into that little hole. Let me see what I've got around the shop. I found this walnut cutoff, and it's relatively close in color. What I think I'm going to do is I'll grab a piece of coarse grit sandpaper, I'll lay it on the surface of my table saw, and then I'll run this blank back and forth to create some dust. I'll then take that dust and fill this hole with it, put a little drop of CA glue on there. I think we can clean it up and make that hole invisible. I'm back from the table saw where I did a little sanding, and you can see I've got some walnut dust here. What I'm going to do is attempt to fill this little hole. Get rid of some of the excess. Let's put just a dot of CA on there. I don't want to put too much. There we go. Looks like a little more. It looks like there's still a little bit of a hole there. So what I'm going to do is hit that with some activator and then put a little more on top of it. Okay, that ought to be enough. Put just a little bit more on top of it. The hard part is putting just one dot of CA on there because the CA wants to run like you would not believe. And the only reason it's running is because I'm using thin CA. I could have used medium, but I wanted to go ahead and make sure it's soaked down into all of the dust and really bonded it together. What I'm going to do now is one more shot of activator. We're going to walk away from this for a few minutes. I'm going to let this set up and dry really well. Then I'll come back and I'm just going to run my skew, a nice finishing cut right across the top of here. Clean this blank up. We'll clean that right off and we should be ready to start polishing. You know, tell you what, we got a little spot right there. Let's just check the blank over. We may have a few other spots that we need to address. Luckily, I've got plenty of dust. Let's try to smash it down in that hole there. Oop. See what I mean? That thin is tough to work with. Good stuff though, really good stuff. Blow that off of there, a little activator. Okay, let's just check the blank over. I think that's pretty much it. I really like how it looks beyond that. One thing, whoa, sorry about bumping the camera there. And back off the mandrel saver because I want to pull the bushings out so I make sure I don't glue them to the blank. We're going to let this dry for a few minutes, then we'll come back and clean it up. It's been drying for a little bit. Everything feels good. I didn't really put a thick layer of CA on there, so I really think the activator should have dried it completely. Let's go ahead and clean it off with the skew. That CA became rock hard. You can see there's still some residue on there. What I'm going to do is take my skew and sharpen it, and then I'm going to come back and just make one more pass because it's not really cutting as well as I would like it to on that CA. So let's do that. I'll be right back. That sharp edge really made a difference on cutting through that CA. CA is tough to cut through. The blank looks a little rough, but when I micro mesh it, you'll never see any of that. I really like the way the walnut filled. Let me get the tool rest out of the way, and let's get the micro mesh out, and let's make this blank look amazing. I'm really going to work the micro mesh, try to build up a nice lather or a nice slurry. I think this blank is going to be beautiful once it's finished. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take a quick peek at it. I'm going to go back. Oh, it looks amazing. I'm going to go back and start with the yellow again, and I'm going to really work this blank. I think it's going to be gorgeous when it's done, though. Just take a look at that. That's amazing. Now, because we have the wood in here, what I'm going to have to do is put at least one coat of CA on there to kind of cover that wood. I'm going to go ahead and put one coat, and then we'll take a peek at it and see if we need a second. Looks like we have a little divot right there. I'm going to clean that out, and then as I put the CA, I'm going to use more than one coat now, and I'll get that divot filled. Just see if we can dig the slurry out of this little area here. That looks pretty good. See if there's any more. Yeah, maybe a little one there. These are just probably air pockets in the resin. Sometimes that happens when you cast, and you cast things like a pine cone. There's a lot of area there for air pockets to hide. Okay, that looks pretty good. Overall, I'm happy. I'm going to go ahead and get the nonstick bushings swapped out onto my mandrel, and then we are going to, look at that shimmer, boy, that's just gorgeous. We're going to put some CA on here, clean this up a little bit, and then I think it's going to look amazing. When I do a CA finish, I usually start with medium so it can really kind of soak in and, you know, and seal the wood. But since there's just such a minute amount of wood, I'm going to go ahead and start with medium on this one. We're going to put a couple of maybe 3 coats on, and then we'll take a look at the blank and see how it looks and feels, and make a decision whether we go back to micro mesh or whether we add a little more CA. Yeah, this is going to look really nice when it's finished. I'm going to turn the camera off and finish up the CA, and I'll come back and make the final decision on camera as to whether we're ready to micro mesh or whether we need more CA. I applied 3 coats of CA, medium CA, and the blank was very shiny until I hit it with the activator. Then it kind of dulled a little bit, but I'm not worried about that because when I go over it with my micro mesh pads, this thing is going to pop. It feels amazing. It is completely smooth from end to end. You cannot tell where I made the fills. I think one of them was right there, and one of them was back this way, maybe there, but you can't tell. They look amazing. So let's go ahead and micro mesh this. When I micro mesh CA, I use a set of worn out pads, and I don't put a lot of pressure on the blank. I just lightly rub it with the pad and get the pad out of the way as quickly as possible. too much work with the pad and you're going to work right through the CA glue. Whoops. Also, you want to pay close attention while you're doing this. And this is one of the reasons why you don't want to use a cloth on your lathe. You do not want that to get caught and pull your hand in. With paper towels, they just wrap around and tear and pull right out of your hand. See, she's going to stick again. Last couple of pads, we'll work them a little bit longer. Get a little more water on there. Take a look at that. It brought the shine right back as we polished out that CA. I'm very happy with how that looks. I'm going to go ahead now and get my buffing wheel on here, and we'll buff this up, and I think it's going to look amazing. We'll get it put into a pen kit. I'm ready to assemble this blank, but before I do, I wanted to let you know I'll be using a Monarch Gold and Chrome pen kit from Classic Nib. This pen kit requires a 27/64" drill bit. However, this was a tube-in casting, so I did not have to use the drill bit to drill a hole in the blank. The bushings that I used for this particular kit are the same ones you would use for a Sierra or a Wall Street 2. The first thing we want to do is find a nice spot to put our cap and clip assembly, and I kind of like it right there. You got that nice brilliant section of purple behind it, and you see all of the white as well as the pine cone up front. So let's go ahead and get this into the press. Make sure everything lines up. There we go. Want to make sure you get started straight. It's sometimes tough when you've got the camera between you and the pen press, and I have difficulty sometimes getting them started straight, but I just take my time and it all comes together. Look at that. We got that nice shiny section there. We've got all of the white with the pinks and purples mixed in. You can see the pine cone down through there. It's a gorgeous blank. Let's go ahead and assemble the front half. The first thing we want to do to get this assembled is grab our spring. We got a larger end and a smaller end. I like to put the refill in the smaller end. I like to put that into the nib. We thread our refill. We're going to test the action. Look at that. Absolutely great. That's perfect. Now let's go ahead and put our pen together. And that is one gorgeous looking pen. Just look at that. Isn't it beautiful? I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed turning this blank. Luis, all I can say is thank you. I've received nothing but compliments on this pen. It's absolutely gorgeous. I would like you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon, everybody, and have a great evening.